No escape. Real stories from inside America's toughest prisons. Subscribe for more real crime stories. Like, share, and join the discussion below. It began on a freezing December morning in 2000, a quiet day at the John B. Connolly unit in Kennedy, Texas. Guards made their usual rounds. Inmates shuffled through corridors for work assignments, and no one suspected that by noon, the state's most secure prison would become the center of one of the most audacious prison escapes in U.S. history. Inside a maintenance building, 7 inmates were putting their plan into motion, a plan that had been months in the making. The group was led by George Rivas, a charismatic yet dangerous inmate serving 18 life sentences. Around him were 6 others, hardened criminals, each with their own story and skill. Together, they called themselves the Texas 7. Their goal wasn't just freedom, it was survival at any cost. That morning, while guards supervised routine repairs, Rivas and his crew overpowered the officer in charge, tied him up, and stole his uniform. One by one, they subdued more staff members, stealing weapons, radios, and a prison truck. Within minutes, they controlled the maintenance area, blending manipulation, intimidation, and military-like precision. They knew every camera angle, every guard rotation, every weakness. By early afternoon, wearing stolen uniforms and carrying stolen guns, they walked out of the maximum security prison's front gate, pretending to be prison staff on official business. No one stopped them. No one even looked twice. Within hours, the escape was complete. 7 dangerous men were gone. When the first alarm finally sounded, chaos erupted. Helicopters swarmed the area, roadblocks were set up, and Texas Rangers began what would become one of the largest manhunts in American history. News of the breakout spread nationwide. Headlines read, 7 inmates vanish from Texas prison. But while the world focused on how they escaped, Rivas and his crew were already hundreds of miles away, heading north in stolen vehicles, hiding in plain sight. They broke into stores for supplies, stole money, and communicated through burner phones. Every move was strategic. They knew law enforcement was closing in. For weeks, authorities chased shadows, false sightings, and dead-end tips. Then, on Christmas Eve, the Texas 7 resurfaced in Irving, Texas. What was supposed to be a quiet holiday turned into tragedy when a police officer stumbled upon their stolen car. He didn't know who they were until it was too late. The sound of gunfire shattered the night. When backup arrived, all that was left was the officer's cruiser, bullet holes in the windshield, and tire tracks leading into the dark. The manhunt had turned deadly, and the nation realized these fugitives weren't just escaping prison. They were declaring war on law enforcement. And as investigators pieced together what happened that night, one question haunted them. If 7 men could escape from one of America's toughest prisons, where would they strike next? In the days that followed Officer Aubrey Hawkins' murder, the nation was gripped with fear and outrage. What had started as a prison escape had become a manhunt stretching across multiple states. The Texas 7, now armed, dangerous, and desperate, had vanished into the sprawl of America's highways. Law enforcement mobilized at a level rarely seen. The FBI, Texas Rangers, and U.S. Marshals formed joint task forces, setting up command posts, broadcasting mugshots across television screens, and issuing public alerts. Cash rewards mounted, first $10,000, then $100,000, then more. The fugitives had turned themselves into legends of infamy, but the clock was ticking. George Rivas, the group's self-appointed leader, knew that the murder of a police officer had changed everything. The plan was no longer about freedom, it was about survival. The group drove through backroads, slept in abandoned cabins, and swapped stolen vehicles under the cover of night. Yet cracks began to form in their unity. Joseph Garcia wanted to flee the country. Patrick Murphy argued for splitting up. Larry Harper, the quiet one, started to lose sleep, haunted by the faces of the people they'd hurt. But Rivas held them together with promises of a new life, whispering, "We made it this far. We don't stop now." By mid-January 2001, the group settled temporarily in Colorado, posing as Christian missionaries at an RV park. They grew beards, changed their names, and told friendly locals they were traveling preachers spreading the word of God. It was a stunning transformation. Cold-blooded fugitives living among churchgoers, sharing meals, and even attending local services. But while they blended in, law enforcement tightened the net. The FBI tracked credit card use, monitored stolen vehicle reports, and circulated composite sketches nationwide. The manhunt had reached every television in America. The Texas Seven are armed and dangerous, the warning said. Then, a critical tip came in. A viewer in Colorado recognized one of the men from a national TV segment. It was John King, the RV park owner, who realized his friendly missionaries looked eerily familiar. Within hours, SWAT teams surrounded the area. The fugitives were caught off guard. Some tried to run, others reached for their weapons. Gunfire echoed through the snow-covered park as law enforcement advanced. When the dust settled, one of the seven, Larry Harper, was dead by his own hand. The others were taken into custody without further shots fired. The manhunt was over. But for investigators, the nightmare was just beginning. The escape had exposed major security flaws in Texas prisons, and the public demanded answers. As the captured men were led away in shackles, cameras flashed and reporters shouted questions. Rivas looked straight into the lenses and said calmly, "We never meant for anyone to die." But deep down, everyone knew the consequences of their escape were far from over. And soon, the courtroom would become the next battlefield. The courtroom in Dallas was silent as the Texas Seven entered, shackled, guarded, and expressionless. Months of fear, mourning, and outrage had led to this moment. Families of victims filled the benches, their eyes locked on the men whose escape had changed everything. George Rivas, calm and collected, walked with a faint smile. Patrick Murphy avoided every glance, while Michael Rodriguez looked hollow, like a man already serving his sentence in his mind. The prosecution wasted no time. They laid out every detail: the escape, the planning, the cold precision, and the brutal events that led to Officer Aubrey Hawkins' death. But beyond the facts, what chilled the courtroom was the question that hung in the air: why? In testimony after testimony, it became clear that this wasn't just about freedom. Rivas had told the others their crimes inside the prison system were forgotten, that escaping was their redemption. But redemption had turned into bloodshed. Letters, recorded conversations, and diary notes revealed manipulation, fear, and control. A leader who saw himself as untouchable, and 6 others who followed him into darkness. For law enforcement, this case became more than justice. It was a mission to restore public faith. The Texas Department of Criminal Justice faced scrutiny for how 7 high-risk inmates had escaped a maximum security unit with fake IDs, stolen uniforms, and unmonitored access to maintenance tools. Prison policies changed overnight. Cameras installed, guard protocols revised, and lockdown procedures rewritten. But for the victims' families, those changes came too late. During the trial, Officer Hawkins' widow, Lori, delivered a statement that silenced even the defendants. "You didn't just kill a police officer," she said softly. "You destroyed families, trust, and peace. But you didn't break us." In 2002, the verdict was delivered. All surviving members of the Texas Seven were sentenced to death. Years later, one by one, their appeals failed. George Rivas, the ringleader, was executed in 2012. His final words, "I'm sorry for everything I've done." For many, those words were too little, too late. The escape had lasted only 42 days. Yet its impact rippled for decades, changing laws, exposing corruption, and forcing America to confront how desperation, loyalty, and leadership can twist into something deadly. As the prison gates closed once more on the remaining fugitives, a haunting truth lingered. No one truly escaped. Not from guilt, not from loss, not from the weight of what they'd done. And for those who remembered the name Texas Seven, the story stood as a chilling reminder that freedom, once stolen, always comes with a price.